To the conventions live. Every story, every angle, for every American. First stop, Milwaukee, all this week. The most trusted journalists, analysis from all perspectives, and your backstage pass giving you a behind-the-scenes look at one of the biggest political events of the year. All this week, the Republican National Convention and News Nation. News for all America.
Now for a huge week for former President Donald Trump, to put it lightly maybe, who formally picks his vice presidential running mate on the first day of the Republican National Convention, just days after an assassination attempt. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 4. I'm Samantha Cortese.
And I'm Sandra Mitchell. Former President Trump has chosen Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate for the 2024 presidential race.
And 48 hours prior, he was shot in an attempted assassination at a rally in Pennsylvania. KTLA's Rachel Menitoff is live in the News Center with why the former president picked Senator Vance for his 2024 presidential bid. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Sandy. Former President Trump had a couple of finalists in mind, and it soon became clear he was narrowing the field down. He says Vance is best suited for the position. In the meantime, many are still reeling from the shooting at his campaign rally over the weekend. The investigation continues, but it's unclear what motivated the shooter in the first place.
Two very different scenes today playing out across America. In Pennsylvania, the investigation continues into Saturday's assassination attempt. Hundreds of miles to the west, the Republican National Convention now underway with a big announcement.
Senator J.D. Vance has the overwhelming support of this convention to be the next Vice President of the United States.
Former President Trump catapulting Ohio GOP Senator J.D. Vance into the spotlight as his pick to be Vice President. Vance served in the Marine Corps before studying at Ohio State University and getting his JD from Yale Law. He's married to his former law school classmate and has 3 children.
He is a member of a new generation, and Trump knows that. He would be one of the youngest vice presidents in our nation's history, and he can act like that bridge for younger voters.
Initially one of Trump's fiercest critics, Vance changed his tune during his 2022 Senate run. He secured Trump's endorsement during a contentious race and is now one of his most loyal allies.
The great state of California proudly casts all of its 169 votes for President Donald Trump.
The Republican National Convention is carrying on as planned less than 48 hours after Saturday's shooting at the former president's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump says he's grateful to be alive after the surreal experience, saying in his first interview it was God who saved him. He commended the Secret Service officers who shielded him and ushered him to safety, but the organization is under fire tonight. Homeland Security Secretary says the gunman who fired on former President Trump should never have been able to get a direct line of sight.
An independent review will make factual findings and recommendations based on those findings.
Today, we're learning more about the shooter, identified by the FBI as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, who lived in the Pittsburgh suburb of Bethel Park. He worked as a dietary aide at a nursing home and had graduated from community college. Investigators believe he acted alone and found no indication of prior mental health issues. His motive, though, is unclear, and apparently his phone and social media prove little help. President Biden has promised a thorough investigation. He's expected to sit down with NBC's Lester Holt tonight. A senior advisor tells CNN his campaign has been told to be careful on all things Trump until further notice.
I think what President Biden is going to have to pivot to is arguing why his policies are better for America and really having more of a discussion about policies, about worldview, but moving away from saying that Trump poses an existential threat to our country.
And another development in the former president's favor, the Florida judge overseeing his classified documents trial dismissed the case today. She says the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith was illegal. Trump praised the ruling and said other criminal cases should be dropped too. I'm Rachel Menitoff, live in the News Center. Sandy, back to you in the studio.
All right, Rachel, thank you for the update. We have some new details now about that firefighter who was killed during the assassination attempt of former President Trump, 50-year-old Corey Compatore. was a former fire chief. He shielded his wife and his daughter when that shooting happened. In a social media post, his daughter called her father a real-life superhero. He also has a SoCal connection. His step-uncle is former Menifee City Councilman Tom Furman. He remembered Comparatore as somebody who was always helping others. The two other victims shot during the rally, now said to be in stable condition.
Politicians are voicing their concerns about the assassination attempt against former President Trump. President Biden is calling on Americans to lower the temperature in our politics.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. I'm instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift, and the investigators will have every resource they need to get this done.
House Speaker Mike Johnson said the horrific act of political violence should be unanimously and forcefully condemned. He told NBC's Today Show President Biden should be called out for political attacks on Trump, saying he contributed to a heated political environment. One example, calling on donors to put Trump in the bullseye.
There's no figure in American history, at least in the modern era, maybe since Lincoln, who's been so vilified and really persecuted by media and, Hollywood elites, political figures, even the legal system.
This is a moment where all leaders have a responsibility to speak and act with moral clarity, where all leaders need to take down the temperature and rise above the hateful rhetoric that exists and search for a better, brighter future for this nation.
President Biden did call that bullseye remark a mistake. Political leaders from around the globe also denouncing Saturday's assassination attempt. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "We pray for his safety and speedy recovery." Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said, in part, "We have been adversaries, but I wish President Trump health and long life, and I repudiate that attack."
All right, let's take a live look now. This is Milwaukee. It's the first day of the Republican National Convention, well underway now, where, as you have heard, former President Trump has already announced Ohio Senator J.D. Vance will be his running mate.
Washington correspondent Raquel Martin is live at the RNC. Raquel, I've seen you in the background of a lot of shots today, and I'm excited to talk to you, catch a vibe for what's going on there. You were inside the convention when the news broke that former president chose J.D. Vance as his running mate. What was the reaction like inside?
Well, the crowd was pretty fired up. Of course, we know that the former president originally made this announcement on Truth Social, so it took a minute to make its rounds. It wasn't until we saw Senator J.D. Vance come to the floor that the crowd really riled up. We heard them chanting J.D., for instance, and then he went through the formal process, was taking photos, was embraced by the governor of Ohio, for instance, and was then formally nominated as Trump's VP.
All right, it's not officially on the schedule, but do we think we're going to see an appearance from Donald Trump tonight?
Well, he is not scheduled to make an appearance, but we do know he is in town. He landed just yesterday on the heels, of course, of that horrific shooting that we saw take place on Saturday. He's slated to speak on Thursday. That's when he's going to make his formal acceptance speech for the nomination. And right now, I guess we're just waiting to see if he'll make a surprise visit, for instance. We do know there is a box here designated for the former president, but at this point, there is no reporting indicating that he will be making any sort of surprise announcement or visit.
Raquel, what is security like at the convention?
Well, there is certainly a lot of police